The soft jingle of Christmas music echoed, faintly through the house, as I opened my eyes to the golden morning light. The snow outside shimmered like tiny diamonds on the window pane, and for a brief moment, everything felt peaceful. The smell of freshly brewed coffee and cinnamon drifted up from the kitchen, that comforting scent that always meant Christmas had begun. I smiled to myself, expecting to find Daniel lying beside me as he always did, his hand reaching out in sleepy warmth. But the bed was empty, the sheets cool where he should have been. Pulling on my robe, I padded downstairs, following the aroma of breakfast. The living room greeted me with a picture-perfect sight, the Christmas tree glowing softly with its warm lights, gifts wrapped neatly beneath it, and the fireplace crackling gently. Daniel stood there, his old red sweater slightly wrinkled, holding 2 mugs of cocoa. He looked up at me and smiled, but it wasn't the same smile I'd known for years. It was smaller, guarded, like he was forcing it. "Merry Christmas, Anna," he said, handing me the cup. "Merry Christmas," I whispered back, taking a sip. The cocoa was warm and sweet, but a lump formed in my throat I couldn't explain. A moment later, our children, Lily and Max, thundered down the stairs, shouting, "It's Christmas! It's Christmas!" Their laughter filled the air, washing over the silence that had lingered between Daniel and me. We took pictures, opened gifts, and smiled for the camera. A perfect family on a perfect morning. At least that's what it looked like from the outside. Then my phone buzzed. I reached for it absent-mindedly, still laughing at something Max said, until I saw the name flashing on the screen. Noah. My heart stuttered. I hadn't heard from him in months, not since I ended everything and promised myself I'd never look back. The message was simple but devastating. "Merry Christmas, Anna. I still think about you." My breath caught. I quickly turned the phone over, palms sweating. Daniel glanced at me from across the room, his eyes narrowing just slightly. "Everything okay?" he asked. I forced a smile. Yeah, just a message from work. But deep down, I knew the peace of Christmas morning had already shattered. Something dark and buried had just resurfaced, and there would be no hiding it for long. The living room was filled with the scent of roasted turkey, pine, and laughter. Our families had arrived, their cheerful voices echoing through the house. Daniel's parents sat by the fire, sipping eggnog and chatting with my sister. The kids were showing off their new toys, the sound of wrapping paper still crackling underfoot. From the outside, it was the perfect Christmas gathering. But inside me, a storm was brewing. I moved through the crowd, smiling, serving drinks, and pretending everything was normal. But every time my eyes met Daniel's, a strange distance glimmered between us. He spoke politely, even kindly, but there was something colder in his tone, like he was wearing a mask. I caught him watching me once or twice, his gaze sharp and knowing. My hands trembled each time I picked up a plate. The message from Noah still burned in my pocket like a secret I couldn't hide. After dinner, when the guests were lost in conversation, I slipped outside for air. The night was silent, except for the faint sound of laughter spilling from the windows. Snowflakes fell softly, melting on my skin as I breathed out invisible clouds. The peace of the night only made the guilt heavier. I wrapped my arms around myself, whispering, "Why now, Noah? Why today?" Then I heard the crunch of footsteps behind me. I turned and there was Daniel. His breath fogged in the cold, his hands buried in his coat pockets. For a moment, we just stared at each other. "Who messaged you this morning?" he finally asked, his voice quiet but steady. My heart jumped. "What are you talking about?" He tilted his head, eyes piercing. "I saw your phone light up. You looked scared. Was it Noah?" The sound of his name shattered whatever calm I had left. I froze, words caught in my throat. "Daniel, His jaw clenched. "Tell me the truth, Anna, please." Tears stung my eyes. "It was just a message." I didn't respond. "I swear, it's over." He looked away, his voice breaking. "A message doesn't come from nowhere. He still thinks about you because you gave him a reason to." The truth hung between us like a curse. The snow kept falling, silent witnesses to the unraveling of our Christmas, and maybe our marriage. By the time the last of our guests left, the house felt unbearably quiet. The laughter, the music, the warmth, all of it had vanished, leaving only the sound of the ticking clock and the low crackle of the fire. Lily and Max had gone upstairs. Too young to understand the heavy silence that filled the air, I sat on the edge of the sofa, my hands clasped tightly together, staring at the reflection of the Christmas lights in the window. Each flicker seemed to mock me, whispering truths I didn't want to face. Daniel sat across the room, his eyes fixed on the tree, not saying a word. The glow of the lights painted his face in soft gold, but his expression was hard, distant. I knew he was waiting for me to say something, to admit what he already suspected. The weight of his silence was unbearable. Finally, I spoke, my voice trembling. "Daniel, I need to tell you everything." He didn't move. "Go on," he said flatly without looking at me. So I did. I told him about the summer, how we'd been fighting constantly, how lonely I'd felt when he started coming home late, always buried in work and excuses. I told him how Noah had been there, how one conversation led to another, how one mistake had turned into something I could never take back. I told him I ended it the moment I realized what I'd done, and that I'd hated myself ever since. When I finished, my voice was gone, replaced by the sound of quiet sobs. Daniel finally looked up at me. His eyes glistened, but not with anger and with heartbreak. "You betrayed me with my best friend," he said quietly, the words trembling on his lips. "Do you know what that does to a man?" I tried to reach for him, but he flinched away. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness," I whispered. "But please, Daniel. I can't lose you." He stood pacing toward the window. "I don't know if I can forgive you, Anna," he said after a long pause. "But I can't pretend I don't still love you either." His voice broke on the last word, and in that fragile confession, I felt both pain and hope, the smallest spark in the ashes of what we once were. The next morning, the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, casting a soft glow across our quiet living room. The storm from last night, both outside and between us, had settled. The snow had stopped falling, leaving the world outside blanketed in pure white, like a promise of starting over. I found Daniel sitting near the window, still wearing the same sweater from the night before, a cup of untouched coffee cooling beside him. His face looked tired, the lines of worry deeper than ever, but there was something softer in his eyes, something that looked like reflection, not anger. I hesitated before speaking. "You didn't sleep," I whispered. He nodded slightly, not taking his eyes off the snow. "No, I kept thinking about everything. About us." I walked closer, my heart pounding. "I don't expect you to forgive me, Daniel. I just want to make things right. Whatever it takes, I'll do it." For a long moment, he didn't respond. Then slowly he turned toward me. "If we're going to fix this, it starts with honesty, from both of us. No more secrets. No pretending." Tears welled in my eyes as I nodded. "You have my word." We sat together, silent but close, the space between us no longer cold. When the kids came running down the stairs, their laughter broke the tension, their innocence reminding us what we still shared, a family worth fighting for. We helped them build a snowman in the yard, the crisp winter air biting our cheeks as Daniel and I exchanged hesitant smiles. For the first time in months, we laughed, not like before, but enough to feel alive again. Later that evening, as the sky turned orange and pink, we sat by the Christmas tree once more. The twinkling lights reflected in his eyes as he reached for my hand. "This Christmas wasn't what I expected," he said softly. "But maybe it's what we needed. A wake-up call." I squeezed his hand gently. "Then maybe it's the most special Christmas we've ever had?" Outside, the snow began to fall again, quiet and gentle, like forgiveness itself, covering every scar, every regret, with a fragile but hopeful peace.